time.
My grandparents' farm has suffered repeated damage from wild boars, with the crops taking heavy losses. Now that they've grown old and can no longer guard the land like they used to, that piece of land has become more vulnerable than ever. That's why my cousin Magnus and I decided to head out to go on a hunting trip to protect our beloved family farm. We started moving into the swampy area right next to the farm around 4 p.m., just as the wild boars began foraging. The feed we had scattered earlier had started to do its job, quickly attracting one of the boars. I climbed up a tall tree branch, hiding behind the thick brush. From up here, I had the perfect shooting. Slowly, I raised my gun and aimed at the target. Bang! Got it. I exhaled, heart still racing with excitement. A precise shot, fast and clean, instantly brought down the boar. After that first success, I moved to a new ambush spot. We stuck to our previous strategy, laying down bait to lure the boars.
Dropped him.
I waited for about 20 minutes before a group finally showed up. Oh, not very big in size, but there were quite a few of them. I adjusted my scope. The target this time was the one on the outer edge. Once I was sure it was within my sights, I pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the swamp. Another precise hit, another win on our mission to track down these wild intruders. My friend Magnus wasn't far off. He had just spotted a new target and was preparing to shoot. The animal kept moving, so Magnus had to be patient, waiting for the perfect moment. Once it stepped into a vulnerable position, a pellet from his air rifle struck it down instantly. In under 5 seconds, the boar collapsed before it could even let out a cry. Unlike previous hunts, on these 2 afternoons we chose to ambush from the treetops. The height gave us better visibility, made us harder to detect, and offered more safety. But it also came with risks. A single misstep could lead to a fall, so every movement had to be made with care. When the boars appeared, my heart started pounding. I locked onto my target and pulled the trigger. Got it. I couldn't hide my joy seeing the boar drop instantly. A fatal shot had immobilized it completely. That thrill, it felt like every effort we made had truly paid off. Boars are naturally cautious creatures, but the irresistible scent of bait drew them closer, unaware they were being watched. Seizing the chance, Magnus raised his rifle and took aim. The moment the target was centered in the scope, the shot rang out. It wasn't loud, but it was deadly. 2 boars dropped on the spot. Wow, perfect, powerful shots. A performance any hunter would admire. Our previous location had been exposed, so I had no choice but to quickly relocate to a new ambush point. Before I could even get fully settled, a herd of boars suddenly appeared. A big mistake on their part, but a golden opportunity for us. I swiftly took aim, locked onto the target, and pulled the trigger. The sharp crack of the rifle rang out. A clean, decisive shot into the boar's life in an instant. Satisfaction washed over me. A well-earned reward for the focus and patience that had carried me.
In Georgia, located in the southeastern U.S., locals are struggling to deal with an overwhelming number of wild boars invading residential areas. It's nearly impossible to live peacefully with them, as they continuously threaten the safety of the region. Until a permanent solution is found, hunters like us must step up and help. Watch the video to catch the most intense moments. After about an hour of wandering and searching, we spotted the first wild boars. It quickly fled as we moved in to surround it. Everyone opened fire, but the dense terrain and overlapping tree trunks, combined with the boar's rapid, elusive movements, meant our first shots missed. It seemed like the boar might escape. But just minutes later, it was intercepted by our pack of hunting dogs. In close quarters, I immediately raised my rifle and pulled the trigger with precision. The accurate shot brought down the stubborn wild boar. Following the map directions, we moved to another nearby area. It didn't take long for the team to get into position and execute the plan. Standing in a hunting stand for a while, I suddenly saw a wild boar charging down. Without hesitation, I aimed and fired several shots. However, due to its lightning speed, the boar disappeared within seconds. We quickly pursued another wild boar toward the forest edge. It aggressively turned back to confront us. Fortunately, my bullet had enough stopping power to take it down with a single shot. The chase in the forest remained intense. With years of hunting experience and a deep understanding of the species' behavior, we knew how to set up an effective hunt. The team split into 3 smaller groups, working together to block and surround the likely escape points. From the deep woods to the outer edges, boars darted in all directions. But thanks to our relentless pursuit, we managed to stay on them and took down several before they could get away. That evening, we continued chasing after the fleeing boars. As the hunting dogs barked loudly, I silently observed and waited for the right moment to strike. Just as expected, the dogs flushed a boar out of the thick bushes, giving me a clear shot. Several gunshots echoed, and I successfully hunted down my intended target. It had been a while since I joined such a thrilling hunt. In front of me was an entire herd of wild boars, each large, muscular, and fast. Without wasting a second, I fired the first rounds. My trusty hunting rifle worked flawlessly, taking down a few on the spot. However, the rest of the herd moved too quickly and vanished in seconds. Not satisfied with the outcome, I followed the tracks, determined to finish the job. The isolated one started to panic and flee, and I seized the opportunity, quickly eliminating the one ahead. From the top of a high mountain ridge, our team unexpectedly spotted a wild boar with an unusually colored coat. It moved so fast that I didn't have time to think, just aimed and fired immediately. In the bushes below, several large boars were still hiding. One was flushed out by the dogs and ran toward the trail. I quickly took aim. The bullet hit with precision, and the boar collapsed right there. After the hunt, we had successfully eliminated quite a few destructive wild boars. but clearly, many still remain. That's why we can't afford to stop here.
Oh my God, what have these wild boars done? The scene in front of us is a complete disaster. My teammates and I couldn't help but feel both sorrow and anger at the destruction they caused. We knew that if we didn't act quickly, the damage would only get worse. That's why our entire hunting team set out with one mission: to track down these destroyers, not just to protect the crops, but to restore peace for ourselves and our community. Early in the morning, we made our way to the forest right next to our village. Having hunted together for years, we didn't need to say a word. Everyone instinctively moved into position. I began searching for signs of the wild boars. Suddenly, a teammate shouted from a distance. The target was closing in. And sure enough, thanks to our preparation, I aimed and fired in a split second. The shot hit home. The boar slid across the ground and collapsed shortly after. Before we could even savor the win, I sensed something strange. Amidst the lush green trees, a dark blur passed. My hunting instincts kicked in immediately. I raised my gun, eyes locked in, ready to fire at any moment. Bang! The startled boar tried to dodge, but it was too late. The bullet hit clean. It stumbled, thrashed around briefly, and then went still. As soon as I radioed in the sighting, Orson swiftly moved into an intercept position. And just like that, the moment the boar appeared, he didn't hesitate. One clean shot from instinct alone, a quick and decisive end. The boar never had a chance to escape. Knowing that wild boars often move in herds, we were sure more were hiding nearby, so we began sweeping the area carefully. Just as we predicted, the herd emerged under pressure. I kept my cool, tightened my grip on the gun, eyes fixed on the target. Then bang. A precise, clean shot dropped one of them right where it stood. After a brief 10-minute break, we pressed deeper into the forest. The dense undergrowth created a natural barrier, masking any movement inside. But nothing escapes our four-legged warriors. Our dogs quickly picked up a fresh trail. We moved into position without delay, held steady, and aimed with care. The gunfire cracked through the forest. Just like that, another boar dropped not far from us. The echo of the gunfire shook the area, scattering the herd in all directions. Some nearby boars dashed off in panic. But we weren't about to let them get away that easily. I quickly readjusted, locked in on a runner, and squeezed the trigger. Another wild boar dropped instantly. In just a few minutes, we added another trophy to the day's success. Just as we were about to call it a day, our dogs suddenly went wild with barking. From deep in the woods, a massive black figure came charging out at lightning speed. It was him. Not giving a chance to fight back, I opened fire immediately. Several shots rang out, target down. Every November, the farmlands of Dennysley Sivril turkey bustle with activity as locals begin the corn harvest season. But this year, the joy of harvest turned into chaos when herds of wild boars began rampaging through the fields night after night. Watching months of hard work trampled and destroyed, it stirred something in me. Determined not to sit idly by, I joined forces with fellow hunters in the region, and together, we planned a relentless pursuit. We headed out at dawn, riding our familiar hunting vehicle toward the vast fields of Densley Civil. Barely 10 minutes after our arrival, a few wild boars emerged from the distance. I quickly took aim and fired, but the beasts kept charging forward as if unfazed by the gunfire. And this time, with the dog driving the boars into our sights and the net tightening from all sides, the prey had no hope. This area is known as a wild boar haven, and true to its reputation, it didn't take long for us to spot our next target. We moved quickly, cutting off its path. From a favorable position, I calmly brought the target into my sights and pulled the trigger. At the same moment, my hunting partner also landed a perfect shot, dropping another boar. It was incredible. Within just seconds, we had taken down two animals in perfect sync. That double takedown fueled our momentum. The whole team was fired up, more determined than ever. Not long after, a black shadow suddenly darted across the field. We instinctively ducked into the tall brush, holding our breath and waiting for the perfect moment. And then, in a flash, before the boar could even sense the danger, multiple shots rang out. Just like that, it was over. The boar dropped instantly in the middle of the wide open field. Meanwhile, a tense chase unfolded in John's sector. But thanks to his seasoned experience and razor-sharp marksmanship, it didn't take long before the target ahead of him was neutralized cleanly and efficiently. Once again, our dogs proved their worth, flushing a massive boar out of hiding deep within a corner. It charged straight toward us, but I was ready. I raised my rifle, took aim, and dropped on the spot. The boars here are unlike any others, bold, aggressive, and completely unafraid. Some even tried to charge us head-on. Thankfully, we remained calm under pressure and responded with swift precision in every encounter. While relocating to a new position, we were suddenly alerted by strange noises coming from across the field. Seconds later, another boar broke into a sprint, desperate to escape. But today, it was just out of luck crossing paths with sharpshooters like us. A few crisp shots echoed through the air, and the beast was down. Later, we received word about a group of boars hiding in a cornfield mid-harvest. We rushed over immediately. It was madness. They came pouring out in droves. Despite the chaos and the hail of bullets that followed, we only managed to bring down one of them. With numbers like that still out there, it's clear this hunt is far from over. We'll be back tomorrow.
Weiter.
Fierce herds of wild boars poured down from the mountains and forests, drawing closer to residential areas and farmland. Without fear, without the slightest attempt to hide, they destroyed crops, tore through fields, and wiped out months of hard work by local farmers in just a single night. We can no longer stand by and watch. Fueled by determination, armed with modern weapons and an unyielding spirit, we launched a counterattack, relentless and uncompromising, to defend the fruits of our labor. Together with a group of professional hunters, we set out for a remote mountain just outside the city. Each weapon was carefully checked, scopes aligned, magazines loaded. We were fully prepped for the intense hunt that lay ahead. Despite the tough terrain, our hunting dogs pushed forward nonstop, sniffing out tracks and charging into the wilderness. As expected, within 20 minutes, they had locked onto their first targets and launched into pursuit. The wild boars here were incredibly agile, forcing me to stay razor sharp and seize every single opportunity to strike. The chaos spooked a few of them. They tried to bolt across the mountainside to escape. But through the scope, every movement was exposed. With a few well-aimed shots, we dropped some of the slower ones. We pushed deeper into the forest. The dogs had locked onto another group, barking loudly and stirring up a frenzy. The moment they flushed out the boars, we were ready to fight. To maximize our effectiveness, we split up and took positions across the area. With smart coordination and strategy, we took down several more targets. That success only fueled our motivation for the next encounters. Suddenly, through my scope, I spotted another wild boar trying to sneak through the bushes on the opposite hillside, desperate to escape. But with our tight coordination, any hope it had vanished. We cut off its path and took the shot. Still, it wasn't over. The wild boars were everywhere. We had to keep fighting for hours. In the end, every trophy was carefully gathered and secured. The chase continued. The sound of barking dogs, shouts from the team, and echoing gunfire merged into a tense, adrenaline-filled atmosphere. Some boars were completely surrounded with no way out. Panic set in, they made mistakes, left themselves open. That's all it took. One clean shot, and the target went down in an instant. The more boars we dropped, the more fired up the team became. But not everything went our way. Some of these animals were unbelievably cool. They dodged our bullets and vanished into the brush in the blink of an eye. That only pushed us to stay more focused, more cautious with every single shot. After finishing the mountain chase, we tracked a few boars to a wide open field. Fortunately, the crops here had already been harvested, giving us a clear line of sight. Although the boars ran fast, the open terrain gave them little room to escape. Still, every shot had to be perfect, one mistake, and we could easily face a counterattack. We swept through the field, determined not to leave a single target behind. One boar was hiding in tall grass, but it couldn't fool the dogs. The moment it was found, we quickly surrounded it, forcing it out of hiding. Just seconds after it emerged, my teammate, lying in wait, took the shot. The crisp crack of the rifle echoed, and the boar dropped instantly. The hunt stretched into the evening. Everyone hoped this would finally push the boars out of the area. But it wasn't that easy. Gunshots still rang out here and there, proof that many were still lurking nearby. It wasn't until exhaustion finally hit that we decided to call it a day and head back. But the emotions lingered, tension, excitement, and an undeniable rush.